Now, nuts are important to eat daily, especially walnuts. I also love pistachios, but some people I understand are allergic to nuts. And if you're allergic to nuts, go for it. Hi friends, are you looking for the perfect diet?
I've been spending millions of dollars trying to create the perfect diet.
Well, so am I, but I don't have Brian Johnson's budget, but I still want to achieve the basic principles of what Mr. Johnson is trying to do. Lengthen my telomeres, protect my DNA, optimize my blood sugars, reduce oxidative stress, increase ATP, NAD, FAD levels, enhance mitochondria biogenesis, activate sirtuins, activate Kinase, inhibit mTOR, enhance autophagy to achieve longevity. The good news is eating real, whole, budget-friendly foods can achieve those 10 vital points to ultimately keep us healthier for longer without a multi-million-dollar budget. So let's start with the core of what makes your body unique, your DNA or your genes, also known as your chromosomes. They dictate what each cell is going to be and how long that cell is going to live. And as you age, your DNA or chromosomes, they get shorter and shorter because your telomeres get shorter. At the end of each chromosome are protective caps, like end caps of shoelaces. They make sure all the genetic materials are transferred every time your cell divides. The end caps function like shoelace end caps. They prevent the shoelaces from getting all frizzy. And imagine if your DNA gets all frizzy at the end, that would really inhibit it from dividing the next time. And this is why it's so important to have long telomeres. Unfortunately, these telomeres, they shrink with every cellular division. And the faster they shrink, the faster you age. The good news is you have enzymes in your body that can replenish those telomeres. They are called telomerases. And it's been shown with every 10 grams of whole fiber foods that you eat for every 1,000 calories, you can effectively reverse 4 years of biological aging. Now, some people will misinterpret what I just said and start taking fiber supplements. That's not going to work. It's really your dietary pattern that gives you many different nutrients, including fibers, which have both a structure and functional role in your body to help protect your DNA and your telomeres. And this is why when people talk about the Mediterranean diet, it's not just one diet. And if you interpret it wrong, there are plenty of unhealthy Mediterranean foods. Now, the key is to avoid the unhealthy foods and tank up on the healthy foods, but also get to a healthy weight for your height. And this is why I tend to focus on whole foods as opposed to labeling my dietary pattern. I really don't follow any conventional dietary pattern because I just go for healthy foods. Let me give you an example. Lots of people love potatoes. They are considered vegan and vegetarian, and they are indeed whole foods. But if your diet is centered around French fries and potato chips, you're going to be shortening your telomere lengths. And this is why I focus on beans, nuts, vegetables, and fruits as my dietary pattern. These foods protect my DNA and hopefully elongate my telomeres on the end of my chromosomes. Now, nuts are especially important to eat daily, especially walnuts. I also love pistachios, but some people I understand are allergic to nuts. And if you're allergic to nuts, go for seeds. There's really lots of other common foods that billions of people for generations have regularly consumed to help protect their DNA and increase their longevity. I watched my dad drink tea my entire life. In fact, that was really his water. I resisted drinking tea unless it was in a cup with boba. For years, I was actually addicted to boba drinks. And how I got off was I slowly reduced my sugar intake when I drank boba. I went from half sweet to a quarter sweet. Eventually, I stopped all the added sugar as well as the added milk or the creamer. And then soon after that, I gave up the boba because that's really essentially sugar. And one day I sat in my car with my $6 cup of plain green tea. And I realized that I can make green tea on my own and save that $6. And that's what I started to do. So every day now I start my day an hour after I wake up with a cup of jasmine or matcha green tea. And I avoid eating food with my tea because green tea can inhibit iron absorption. All of these foods that I just mentioned are not only low in sugars, but they also help to buffer blood sugar, especially from the carbohydrate-rich foods that you eat when it's highly processed. This prevents your blood sugars from going high and low because the high and lows also alter your emotions and they alter your hormones. Literally, if you can keep your blood sugars constantly low, you can reduce the risk of getting diabetes. And in fact, if you must eat a cookie, you may want to consider eating it like the British and drinking some tea. So it's super important to prevent prolonged high blood sugar levels because it increases oxidative stress and inflammation in your body. Oxidation causes telomeres to shorten faster, and high blood sugars can also directly damage your DNA by causing harmful chemical changes to the DNA molecule. All of this can lead to mutations and errors in your DNA when it is copied during cell division. Now, I'm sure you've heard me talk about oxidative stress, and you may not quite understand what that means. Oxidative stress is like when your body gets rusty inside, just like how a nail rusts when it's exposed to air and water. Well, your body is made out of water and you inhale air. So it can get rusty when there is too much of something called free radicals. Now, free radicals are tiny particles that damage your cells if there are too many of them. Free radicals, they're the ones that cause oxidation. And normally, your body has defenses to keep down the free radicals. But under stress, more free radicals pop up. And when it overwhelms your body and your body can't keep it up, that's when the damage starts to add up. And this damage is what we call oxidative stress, which makes you age faster, get sicker, and it prevents you from recovering from illness and injuries. But no worries, your body has built-in cellular antioxidants like glutathione, catalase, and superoxide dismutase, which all help to neutralize free radicals, to reduce oxidative stress, to keep you healthy, to slow down aging, and improve recovery. And this is why I focus on eating antioxidant-rich foods like berries and nuts and cruciferous vegetables, which are high in antioxidants. Many of them are rich in vitamin C, vitamin A, and unique phytonutrients like polyphenols and sulforaphane. I always center my vegetables around cruciferous vegetables because I'm after the sulforaphane. Some people think I eat a lot of rabbit food, and I really do. And these are the same foods that grow elephants, giraffes, and panda bears. Now, I had the privilege of seeing the first 2 panda bears back in the U.S. at the San Diego Zoo recently. Pandas, they can thrive on bamboos. In fact, they need to eat 84 pounds of bamboo daily. Now, I love eating bamboo, but I don't think I can eat 84 pounds of it. I've also gone to a panda conservation center, and this little panda bear that I recorded can grow up to be over 250 pounds eating bamboos. Now, have you ever wondered why pandas can digest all that fiber and thrive, and we can't? It comes down to enzymes. They have enzymes that can break down the fiber or the cellulose in their gut microbiome, and we don't. So when the panda bear eats fiber, their gut microbes break it down into glucose. And this is because fiber literally is made out of glucose. And the only difference between fiber, starch, and your body's own glycogen is how the glucose are stitched together. The stitching is what we call bonds. The bonds between molecules determine the mechanical properties of these glucose molecules. It's like making a quilt or sealing PVC pipes. If your stitches or your sealant for the pipes are weak, then your quilt and your PVC pipes will fall apart under pressure. Weak bonds form molecules like starch and glycogen so that your body can easily access it and turn them into energy. But strong glucose bonds make fiber, which is so strong that it can grow a giant tree in the Amazon or a giant bamboo for pandas to eat or hold up your house. And when you eat fiber, it doesn't get broken down to glucose because you don't have the right microbes with the enzyme cellulase. But your microbiome can break down some of the fibers to make energy molecules called short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that are necessary to energize your local colonic cells to help you poop. And this is why it's important to make fiber a part of your healthy diet. But you also need to get nutrients to get energy. And your body has several ways to harness, trap, and deliver energy. These are through molecules such as ATP, NAD, and FAD. These molecules require specific vitamins and minerals to activate the energy pathway. And you can do what Brian Johnson does and eat a bunch of supplements along with whole foods. I kind of do that. This is my 22 ingredient supplement, but you can't get everything from a supplement. You have to actually eat food. But when you're busy and when you're skipping meals or when you're excessively active and you're not eating enough to meet your metabolic demands, supplements come in very handy. And I learned this the hard way when I ran out of fuel finishing my half marathon. I totally didn't get my diet right. I didn't even supplement. And so at the end of the race, I thought I was running, but I looked over and people were walking faster than I was running. I literally pooped out and I was flat out of energy. I didn't spend the time that I needed to get my nutrition right because energy is more than eating carbohydrates or fat. And you can eat an abundant amount of carbohydrates and fat, but if you can't metabolize that food and turn it into chemical energy, you'll run out of fuel too. So when you eat, you turn your food into biochemical fuel and it's stored in your cells in the ratios of ADP to ATP, NAD and NADPH, FAD and FADH2. These molecules can't be created without the help of enzymes, which don't work unless you have enough coenzymes and cofactors, also known as vitamins and minerals. Here is a list of some of the cofactors that are necessary for each of these energy molecules. And notice that with just ADP and ATP, you need a variety of vitamins and minerals. That's why I personally take a daily supplement. And if you want to know what I take, I have a link in the show notes below. The bulk of the action to generate energy occurs inside your cell in an organelle called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the battery of your cell. It's literally the power plant. Have you ever visited a dam? Well, around a dam is coupled an electrical power plant. There's a gradient between high and low water, and when water flows down, they can harness that electricity into energy, and with some fancy engineering can light up your house. Inside the mitochondria are gradients of chemical energy formed by potassium. So if you want to have more energy, you have to have an adequate amount of potassium. Potassium is abundant in leafy greens and beans. And if that's not your diet, you're eating a potassium deficient diet, just like 99% of Americans. Now, energy is not just needed to help you physically move. Even if you don't move, you need metabolic energy just to keep you alive. At all times, you need metabolism so that your body doesn't go into chaos. And when your body goes into chaos, you will feel sick, you will gain weight, you will have problems with basic functions like glucose metabolism. And we talked about the harmful effects already about poor glucose metabolism that include DNA mutations, elevating your risk of cancer. This is why it's super important that everyone optimizes their mitochondrial metabolism and increases the number of mitochondria, because aging naturally reduces both the number of mitochondria as well as the function of your mitochondria. The faster you lose your mitochondria, the faster you age. And things that damage your mitochondria are like alcohol. So if you're in the camp that believes you can do toxic things in moderation, then all I can say is good luck to you, because that's not what the data shows.
Do you smoke?
I don't smoke, never smoked.
Do you drink any alcohol?
No, never have.
Do you need any assistance to walk?
Yes, sometimes, not to walk, but to go up steps or down steps.
It's not just alcohol that is damaging to your mitochondria. High saturated fat diets are also quite damaging, and it's been shown to reduce your mitochondria function as well as the amount of mitochondria that you have. Now, I've never met a single person who has thrived on a high fat diet in either their 80s, 90s, or over 100. But I've met plenty of people who live independently in their elder years, centering their diet on whole food plants.
And I found out that people who ate a salad every day had a great drop in their chance of dying. If they had a food that had vitamin A and vitamin C in it, they could reduce their death rate about 3/4.
If you can increase how efficient your mitochondria performs and the number of mitochondria, you have, in fact, activated mitophagy. And the diet best studied for improving mitophagy is the Mediterranean diet. And the reason why the Mediterranean diet is so good is because it's rich in phytonutrients called polyphenols. Now, do you drink coffee? Do you eat grapes, apples, blueberries, or onions? Are you a fan of chocolate and tofu? If you've never tried chocolate and tofu together, you gotta try that. It is a great combination. And sometimes I just want a pudding-like texture. So this is gonna be a chocolate pudding. And these are some of the foods that are rich in polyphenols, can improve your mitophagy, your mitochondrial function. And I like to highlight that soy or tofu, which I eat several times a week, has a particular molecule in it called genistein. Genistein is a phytonutrient that has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity as well as blood sugars, and it also increases the number and function of mitochondria. Now, I've mentioned several enzymes, and your whole metabolism is dependent upon enzymes, including special ones called sirtuins. Now, I talked about telomeres and how they are the end caps of your chromosomes to keep your chromosomes neat at the end. Well, just like a jump rope, if you put a bunch of jump ropes together, they can all get tangled, and it'd be a bad thing to happen if your DNA does that. And this is the function of sirtuins. Sirtuins are enzymes to keep your DNA neatly wrapped together. And by activating sirtuins, it's been shown that animals live longer across species. The loss of sirtuin activity is linked to smokers as well as in dementia. And this is where adding spices makes meals so important. Spices like ginger, turmeric, and cardamom have been shown to increase your cell's ability to boost sirtuin levels. Your cells are designed for longevity. And that's why you can eat a bunch of junk and still survive for decades. But if you did that to your pet, well, it wouldn't last so long. And that's because the junk gunks up your metabolism and slows it down. And like I said, you need metabolism in order just to live. There are ways in which we can increase our metabolism without having to run a half marathon. You can activate enzymes called AMP kinase. Increasing AMP kinase, it's why people exercise and do HIIT training, high intensity workouts. AMP kinase is why I eat the way I do. I don't have to go running 13.1 miles just to activate AMP kinase. I can just stay home and eat my food because many foods are abundant in molecules that activate AMP kinase. EGCG, epigalactocatechin gallate, is found in my morning cup of green tea. That activates AMP kinase. This is why I sprinkle turmeric in every meal and why I eat foods rich in alpha lipoic acid. This is also why I add vinegar in every meal. And as a side benefit, by activating AMP kinase, you will improve your blood sugar control. And we all want to have low blood sugars because the higher your blood sugars, the higher your insulin and the higher your mTOR activity. Now, mTOR is another protein that regulates growth and metabolism. If you're a bodybuilder, you're trying to activate mTOR. However, every athlete knows that big muscles do not necessarily mean you will have good metabolism. And this was proven when Jack LaLanne at 54 beat Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was 21, doing push-ups. Now, when mTOR is overactivated, it can be associated with accelerated aging, cancer, and metabolic diseases like obesity and type 2 diabetes. Foods that are high in protein, especially the amino acid leucine, like animal meats, fish, eggs, and dairy, and foods that have a high glycemic index, refined carbohydrates found in bread, cereals, and desserts, and soft drinks are all known to activate mTOR. This is why I minimize and almost never eat those foods. Think of your body like a car. How many times have you had to take your car to get a motor oil change in a year? The more times you drive, the more frequent your oil changes. And if you don't do that, eventually your car will break because the oil will get dirty and sediment will collect. And then eventually other parts of your car will get broken to ultimately stall your car. Now, your body is the same way. It needs to be able to clean itself up on a daily basis so that your whole body doesn't poop out and not work anymore. This process is called autophagy, which happens at a microscopic scale. Now, luckily for us, we live in a big city. So if my car breaks down, I can find a mechanic pretty easily to find replacement parts so that I can drive again. My son went to Los Angeles once with his friend. On the way home, they heard a big loud clunk because a giant cover on the bottom of the car fell off. Luckily, it was a cosmetic cover and the car still worked. Now, the metabolism of your body is similar to cars. Sometimes when something is broken, like a heart valve or a joint, a physician or surgeon can find a replacement part. But unfortunately, we don't have replacement parts for every single part of your body. And this is why your maintenance of health, your autophagy, is vital in staying healthy. But autophagy needs to happen on a daily basis. You don't want to wait until something gets absolutely broken. Luckily for all of us, there are lots of foods that activate autophagy, including green tea, ginger, coffee, cruciferous vegetables, blueberries, nuts, spices like cumin and turmeric. And if you want to learn more about powerful foods and longevity, watch the next video.